And just so you know who Monika and I are, we are the founders of Fearless Public Speaking. We love to help women to speak up powerfully in their personal lives and careers, and to get on stage and to share their message with the masses.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about how to socialize at holiday parties when you don't feel like peopling. This is a new term Monika just introduced to me. I wanted to use social anxiety. I'll share everything about my social anxiety with you all. But so yes, how to socialize at holiday parties when you don't feel like peopling. Monika, give us a good, strong intro here.
Yeah, so, it's funny because we're tossing around different words: social anxiety, introverts, peopling, and Krista identifies as an introvert. I identify as an extrovert. We'll talk about that shortly. But as empathic, intuitive women, we both feel a little bit overwhelmed when we are going to be at different events and there are a lot of people there and we're absorbing all of these energies and we just don't feel like going to the events. So we wanted to take our power back and share that with you today on how you can learn to prepare yourself in a way that feels really good to show up to these events, whether it's networking or your work Christmas party or family get-togethers, but doing some work up front and during and after that's going to make it feel really good when you show up. And then afterwards, you've got ways to take care of yourself.
Totally. And I wanted to begin by sharing with you all some of my pain points around my social anxieties and being in social situations. And Monika can share some of hers as well. Excuse me. And for everyone watching right now, let me know too in the comments section when I'm describing these things. You can just type in the words me. I want to know who else struggles with these things, because for the longest time I beat myself up. I thought I was the only one who went through this. And there's still some days where I catch myself beating myself up. This is honestly, this has been a struggle for me most of my life. I wish that I could be more social. And it's so funny because a lot of you are probably watching us and they're like, what? You do these Facebook lives all the time. You do these really vulnerable posts. And, and I'm getting ready to apply for my first TEDx talk, and Monika described this to me. These things give me natural boundaries. So I have no problem showing up this way, but you throw me into a room full of people and I shut down. My pulse starts racing, my armpits start sweating. I feel like I can't breathe. I can't take a deep breath. And I just dread being in these situations, which sucks because I want to be a social person. I want to leave my house. I want to make new business connections. I want to network, and my fear of being in crowded places and being overwhelmed it's held me back a lot in life. And a lot of times when my boyfriend will invite me to go to parties, I'll say no, same with my friends. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. So that's been a story and a theme for me. Let's see real quick. What else did I write down here? I also get really exhausted after I socialize. Like with my boyfriend, he can be out all night and just loves it. And for me, after about 3 hours, I'm like, I need a break. I need a nap. I need to be by myself. So that kind of sucks and is unfair. And then a lot of times too, I feel like I lose my power in crowds. When I do talks like this, I feel very powerful, motivational, and inspirational. And then you put me in a crowded room and my voice shuts down. I become a wallflower. People interrupt me. People don't listen to me. And I just am like, this isn't me and this doesn't feel good. So if anyone can relate to any of those things, I would love to know. Type me in the comment section. And Monika, share what some of your pain points are here.
It's so funny because this isn't something I started examining until just within the past year or so. I mean, I've always been an extroverted, outgoing person, love people, love to throw parties. And I just noticed within the past few years, especially, that I do get drained more when I'm around a lot of people and I need that time to recharge. Or I think my best friend Emily and I were talking, and she's an introvert, but she's like 4 hours. That's my max cap for how long I want to be out in a group of people. And I'm like, actually that makes sense. That's about my cap too, which was difficult when I was in the training world in my corporate job, because I would train day-long, week-long classes where I had to be on 8-10 hours a day on my feet in front of people, engaging with them for that long. And I loved it. I loved being in that. I loved facilitating those discussions and having those conversations. But afterwards, I would be exhausted. I would get sick all the time because I wasn't protecting myself. Now I find that I'm very selective about who I want to go hang out with or how long I want to be out. I don't like being at big parties, crowds. I don't like crowds. Walmart is probably one of the worst stores for me ever. And it's not just the amount of people, but it's the physical overwhelm of sensory overload and just all the stuff and the lights and the things and the colors and the sounds. Yes. Everything is just way too much for me. And I'm like, Krista, I used to think there was something wrong with me. Like, I describe this to other people and they're like, well, that doesn't happen to me. And I'm like, well, if it doesn't happen to them, what's wrong with me? But it was digging into some of the stuff that Krista and I are talking about today that's helped release me from that shame or that feeling weird, like I was a weirdo or anything.
Yeah, thank you for openly and honestly sharing that, Monika. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate to that. And so now we want to share with you guys some tips and things that we found useful for us with navigating parties and social situations. So that way, you can feel like you're the life of the party and you're not afraid to network and maybe even find clients, and you're not afraid to say yes to more social events, and you know what your boundaries are, and you don't go into self-sabotage and shame and beating yourself up. So I know that this video is going to be really helpful for all of you today, and you can learn from us and what we've dealt with over the years. So Monika, do you want to start by telling us first of all, what is the difference between being introvert and extroverted? Because I know this is kind of like a passion topic for you.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about. And I'll tell you, this discussion started when I was a new trainer in corporate back in about 2012. And I had a colleague, she was significantly older than me. She was definitely the quieter, more shy type. And I came at her like, extroverts are outgoing and introverts are shy. And she's like, hold on a minute, let's talk about this. She said, the only difference between extroverts and introverts is that extroverts process externally and introverts process internally. That is it. You can be a shy extrovert. You can be an outgoing introvert. But what I've noticed, and I was married to an introvert as well, and I have many, many friends that are introverts, is that they want to think through what they talk about. Yes, I know Krista identifies as an introvert, and they want to think through what they're going to say before they say it out loud. Whereas extroverts, I know we can be very exhausting for introverts sometimes. I'm sure I drive Krista crazy because I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Let me just think through all of this out loud and we'll get there eventually. And that is it, really. There is no other difference between introverts and extroverts. So if you are someone who likes to think internally, but you still feel social and outgoing, that's okay. You can still be an introvert. I know that there's this whole discussion, and I've seen this a lot lately, this whole idea of ambiverts. And ambiverts are people who kind of ride that line. Like, they might be outgoing sometimes, they might process externally sometimes, or they might process internally sometimes, or be shy sometimes. The one thing that I would caution you, especially if you're an intuitive person, so one thing Krista and I went back and forth about when we were talking about this is this idea of like introverts. And I told her, I am an extrovert, but I am an extroverted empath. Now, I know that you hear us talk a lot about empaths and intuitive people, and Krista and I both identify as empaths. And I hear a lot of people say that, well, in general, empaths are introverts. That's often the case, right? There are a lot of empaths out there who need to process things internally before they put stuff out in the world. And I've seen many people like myself who go out there digging all over because we're like, but I'm not an introvert. I don't get it. Why? Why doesn't this mold fit me? And they do these quizzes and they're like, I'm an ambivert. And I'm like, no, take a step back and go Google extroverted empath. Okay? Extroverted empaths, we exhibit a lot of the same characteristics as introverts do. And that's why we don't quite identify or fit this mold of what most empaths do, is because we're not introverted. We like to people. We love to put ourselves out there and, be in front of the crowd and all that kind of stuff. But afterwards, holy crap, the energy drain is insane. And that is a very introverted trait. So that's where it really doesn't have to do with being an introvert. It has to do more with the fact that we haven't learned to protect our energies. And so we're giving everything, we're putting everything out there, but we're also sucking up everything from everybody else. And so that's what Krista and I really want to talk about today, because I know for Krista, like, she likes to be on the stage as an introvert, but it's the mingling side of things that doesn't feel so good. And sometimes that can be true for extroverted empaths as well. Krista, you want to tell us more about that?
Which part?
Being an introvert, liking to be on stage, but not liking the mingling. Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was talking about when we were talking about the pain points earlier, the things that I go through when I'm in a crowd or mingling. And the thing, too, I just want to touch a little bit more about is with the empaths. And a lot of coaches and healers will identify with being an empath. And that's when you feel everything. You walk into a room and you feel all the energy, and it's like just a tidal wave coming at you. And it's like you feel everyone's pain and everyone's fear and anger and joy and excitement. And it's just so intense. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to really protect yourself so that way you can still be social and still be engaged in parties without having to run and hide. And I've spent most of my life running and hiding because I didn't really understand why I was feeling the way I felt. So again, if you guys identify with any of this, for some of you might be going like, holy shit, this makes so much sense. And we have some really good books too we can recommend of, if you're an empath, what that really means and how to deal with that as well. And I don't really have any books about like introverts, extroverts, but definitely books about empaths that I think can help everyone watching this. But let's go ahead and get into our tips. So we're going to break this down into how to prepare before, what to do during a party, and how to take care of yourself afterwards. So Monika, were you going to lead us in the first tip?
Well, I want to talk about it, but then I want you to share your insights, because I feel like you actually are a lot further along with like your meditation journey and all of that kind of stuff than I am. So when it comes to preparing beforehand, and this is a big deal, you probably think that you should have this whole like, well, I should just be able to walk into a party and I'll be fine. Let's be real. If you don't do the pre-work, like what do they say? A failure to plan is a plan to fail. Mm-hmm. You don't do the pre-work, you're setting yourself up for not as good of an experience. And I'm still learning this. I fight it left and right because I'm like, I don't have time. I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. But when I do it, I feel a hell of a lot better. So the first thing you can do is protect. And there are a lot of grounding meditations that you can do to really just connect with the earth and connect with your body. And then what's called shielding, which might be visualizing like this field of white light, or for me it's rose quartz. That's my powered gem, and I know Krista uses a lot of stones as well. And then finally from there also is cord cutting if needed, because we bring in these energies from people and they attach themselves to us. And Krista, I'd love for you to talk more about that, because I feel like you have more experience with grounding, shielding, and cord cutting than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I went to a Toastmasters Christmas party on Wednesday, and I was feeling a little anxious about it, and I decided to do a yoga video for our YouTube channel. So I'll actually share that in the comment section and in the description below, so that way you guys can have access to that. And I literally called it Yoga for Social Anxiety. And so that was actually really helpful for me to do the breathing, sitting on the ground and doing the stretching and just centering in, grounding, and visualizing myself being social and easily having conversations with people and having the results and the outcome that I want. So I think that's a really powerful thing to do for anyone who's nervous before attending any holiday parties.
Yeah. So and then another piece that I know Chris and I believe in, and some of this will be a little bit woo-woo for some of you, but if you're feeling like you're an empathic, intuitive person somehow, I think that you won't mind. It may seem a little weird at first, but I promise it feels really good when you actually try these things out. So crystals or rocks are something that they have energies within them. You know, they come from the earth. And so one of my favorite ones is black tourmaline. It's a good one for protection. And then sodalite, which is a little blue one, and it's great for speaking up and clearing your throat chakra. And Krista does, within our Fearless Public Speaking program, we have this great module on actually clearing your throat chakra so you feel like you can speak up. Mm-hmm. And party trick for all you ladies out there, best place to keep them, right there in your bra. I know I've got both of those stones with me right now. So, wow, Krista, what are you rocking?
I got nothing right now.
No, come on. Showing you up.
I have a funny story about that. With the last full moon, which was like more than a week ago, I put my crystals out to recharge and I forgot to bring them in, and now they're under a layer of ice and snow. So I actually don't have access to my crystals at the moment.
Well, they're going to be extra charged when you get them back.
They are. Yeah, I used to do that for my nursing shifts all the time. I hated being a nurse, and there was so much toxic energy, and I would always wear black tourmaline in my bra. Sometimes it would fall out when I was needing to do patient care, and they would fall on the patients. But
mine fall out all the time, like in the evening when I'm getting ready for bed, and I'm just like, and my boyfriend calls them booby rocks. Let's be real. So, okay. So another piece of this is having a game plan. Like I said, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. Give yourself some kind of goal or challenge for the event that you're going to. How many people do you want to talk to? And you can tell yourself, okay, if I set this goal, I want to talk to 3 people tonight. I want to feel really good about talking to 3 people. Then tell yourself you only have to meet that goal. And then you can leave if you want to. It can make it a little bit more manageable to have this in mind, and maybe you find after 3 people you're ready to add another person. Or maybe you tell yourself that I'm going to do 3 people, I'm going to talk to them, and then I'm going to walk away for a little bit. I'm going to give myself permission to, go have a beverage, or go take a walk outside for a few minutes, or even go breathe by myself in my car for a few minutes before you reset. So having a plan can make it a lot more manageable. Krista, what did you want to add on to all of that?
Yeah, so something that I want to share with all of you that's really been helpful for me with prepping beforehand is creating a deadline for myself. Like we were talking about earlier, I know my limit is 3 to 4 hours. And then after that, I need to either switch locations, or I need to take a break, or I need to go home. And it's important to communicate this ahead of time with your partner or your friends or whoever you're going out with as well, so they don't feel abandoned and feel like, why is she leaving early? So my boyfriend, he knows this about me. He knows this is a really big struggle. So we make a plan ahead of time that we are only going to be out for 4 hours at a time. And if he already knows that ahead of time that he wants to be out later, we'll take 2 cars. So I know that I can, because that's one of the worst feelings, is when you're ready to go, your energy is zapped, and you're like, well, I don't have a way to get home because we carpooled. I hate that. And it's miserable because you feel like you're trapped and you're isolated or you're stranded. And so again, this is part of that plan, communicating ahead of time. Just own it. Just be honest. I mean, for the longest time, I wouldn't say anything to my friends or the guys I was dating. And I just realized, you know what? They just need to know, because I've got, especially as my ex-husband, we would get in so many fights around this. He'd be like, gosh, you're no fun. Why can't you stay out longer? And, why can't you support me? And like, we used to have so many fights about it. Like, it sounds like you did as well, Monika.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very familiar to me.
Yeah. So that's for before. So now we want to give you guys some tips about how to manage, what you're feeling during these holiday parties.
Yeah, so the first part of that is picking your people you want to talk to. And I don't mean that you have to know up front before you show up, right? Because this could be like your spouse's holiday party and you have no idea who's going to be there. But you can walk into the room, and this is where you can tap into your energy as well. So this is where you can use your energy to your benefit, is like look around and feel into the vibe of the people that are there, and then be intentional on the people that you want to talk to. If someone comes up and talks to you, then they picked you, right? So maybe then you've met your goal of one person, is having a conversation with them. But one thing that you can prepare with also is just to have some questions picked out that are easily repeatable. Something like, what's your story? I was just telling Krista that I actually changed my own way of asking people what they do recently, because it didn't feel good to me to say, so what do you do? ugh, I hate that question. I mean, I am not someone who fits inside this little tiny box of what do you do? I do a lot of things. I am a lot of things. We all are. But if you ask that question of like, what's your story, or what makes you get up in the morning? What makes you tick? What gets you excited? People are going to be much more interested in talking to you, first of all. And it might be more fun for you to answer that question in return too. And this is where, you know, I do these elevator pitch calls too, and I help people figure out how to answer this question, because that can shock the hell out of a lot of people when you ask that question. They're like, oh, what's my story? Hell, I had never thought about it before. So, I mean, you can knock them out of the park by having your own elevator pitch under the, you know, wrapped up in with a nice little bow to be able to talk about who you are as well. And then, Krista, I know you have some ideas around visualizing.
Yeah, well, and I wanted to tell everyone too, this is actually going to be one of the workshops at our retreat. So not only is Monika offering a Empower Your Elevator pitch call for anyone who joins our public speaking retreat in January, but one of our workshops we're doing on Friday is we're going to do like it's like speed dating, or it's going to be like a mock networking event with the women who attend. We're so excited about this. And they get to actually practice saying their elevator pitch out loud, saying what they do and how they do it and how they can serve you. So that way they get really good at creating that intrigue and that conversation. And, you know, the whole point is to get hired afterwards and to create connections and relationships and clients. And so we thought, what better way to just put people right into the middle of it. I'm sure the girls are probably going to be frustrated at us. I don't even know if they know we're going to make them do this yet, but like, there, you know, it's kind of like with giving a speech. You can't practice giving a speech behind your computer. You have to just actually go out and fucking do it. So that's a big thing with Monika and I. When we teach, we really want you to just do the damn thing. We want you to take action. And so that is going to be one of our workshops, is this mock networking event. And it's going to be so powerful. I'm so excited.
I am too. And I think one additional piece with that's so important with that mock networking event is that you do exactly what we're talking about here, which is not only talk about yourself, but you have to be ready to fire back and forth with people, so that you tell them something about what you do or who you are, and they're like, well, what does that mean? You've got to be ready to respond. That elevator pitch on talking about yourself is only the first step. You can say that, but you need to see what kind of responses come out of people, because if people are just like, oh, okay, and they move on, then maybe we need to take a step back and relook at what we're saying. But then you start paying attention. Are you getting the same kind of questions from different people? And then you can use that to have yourself prepared on how you want to respond moving forward. So that's why we're super psyched to give people the opportunity to practice what it feels like to be asked questions, as well as to just put yourself out there.
Yep. And speaking on the fly, impromptu speaking, which is going to help you in podcast interviews and going on dates. And so these will all be skills that we'll cover at the retreat coming up.
Which, funny, actually, impromptu speaking, which I think Krista and I were a little leery with our Fearless Public Speaking Academy. We thought people would be scared of it. They loved it. They loved it more than anything else we did the whole time. So it gets really fun when you actually just start getting used to doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was so surprised the girls loved it. Because I hate it. I hate when we do it at Toastmasters and they call it table topics, and they ask you a question and you have like 10 seconds later to get up in front of the audience. And I hate that part, but I'm so happy everyone else loved it. So, but okay, so going back to our tips, there's two things that I wanted to talk about when you're at the event. Is if you're feeling a lot of negative energy from people, you come into the presence of an energy vampire, and you'll know who this person is, because you feel drained after you talk to them within a couple of minutes, and they're complaining and they're negative. And something you can do is, you can do shielding for yourself. You can imagine like you're surrounded by a bubble, or you're wearing protective armor. And I've done that visualization before, and that helps. And I just will say a little healing meditation, and I'll just say you can heal yourself, or I'm giving your energy back to you right now. And obviously the person doesn't know I'm saying this, but so that's really good to do. if you come into presence of negative people. And then another thing too is, and we talked about this earlier, is like take breaks. One of the things that I'll do as we're leading the retreat coming up in January is I'm going to let people know ahead of time that if you see me leave the room and step outside for like a couple of minutes, like, you know, please don't come talk to me. Like, I just need my space. It doesn't mean that I don't like you or that I'm not being social. I need that time to recharge. And I love it because the women we attract for our retreats, they're all empaths as well. And they're like, no, I need to do the same thing. And it gives people permission to also step out when they're feeling a little exhausted or overwhelmed. So don't be afraid to take breaks. Don't feel like you have to tough it out. If you're just feeling drained, just go to the bathroom for a little bit or go check your phone or step outside. And that's going to really help you to conserve your energy and to be able to go longer.
Yeah, I love all of that. And that's something I've had to learn too, because we all should all over ourselves, right? We tell ourselves we should be okay. And when I finally released those shoulds and said, you know what, I know I'm extroverted, but that doesn't mean I have to be on all the time. Yeah. So giving myself that space makes such a difference. Mm-hmm. Another thing, and actually I got to credit Jennifer White, who is one of my coaches in here on this one, is if you get anxious or nervous, having in your head some questions you can ask yourself to reground yourself. And one of my favorite ones is this mine or is it theirs? Because a lot of times as an empathic or introverted person or someone who picks up on other energies, we pick up on other people's energies. I don't know about you, but I can be around someone who is really like high energy or anxious, and I can feel that. And then I just feel like something is not right. Mm-hmm. And so being able to step back and just in my head say, okay, is this mine or is this theirs? Or maybe you have someone who's just told you this huge sob story. And as an empathic person, you're just feeling like, oh my God, I feel all of this sadness and it's so heavy and I don't know what to do with it. Is this mine or is it theirs? Now, if it's yours, go back to what we talked about with the self-care and taking care of yourself. Step away, go reground, do what you need to do. If it's theirs, then ask yourself, like, where is this coming from? And then ask yourself how you want to proceed. You get to choose. You are not an uncaring person for closing the conversation or empathizing. I know you empaths and highly sensitive people, we're very good at empathizing. So telling someone, you know what? Thank you so much for sharing all of this with me. This sounds like a lot. I would love to continue talking with you a little bit later. I need to step away for a few minutes. It was great talking with you. Whatever it is, you can close that conversation in a way that still feels good for you, but also protects yourself and lets you walk away from that energy and just be able to release it. Mm-hmm. Another thing, go ahead, Krista.
Oh, I was going to say, let's start to wrap this up with some tips that we can give to people after they've gone home from the socializing, the parties, and they might be feeling all the feels or feeling drained or feeling weird or off. So did you want to, Monika, you had some great exercises for that, if you would like to share that with everyone.
Yeah. So, we've talked about some of it before. It's kind of the rinse and repeat your protection, right? Grounding, shielding, cord cutting. Doing that afterwards as well is important because you re-pick up people's energies and cords. You reattach cords. It's actually a really great thing to do every single day, to cord cut from people, whether you like them or not. It can be the people close to you. You can still cut those cords. Taking a break, spending time with your dog, or tell yourself you're not peopling anymore for tonight. That's totally fine. Taking a bath, writing or talking about how you're feeling with someone you trust to process what just came up for you. The exercise and actually, Krista, it's so funny. I just came up with that exercise as I was thinking about this. I'm like, this would be really useful. So you could write down 5 things that made you feel anxious or nervous that night. And then also write down 5 good things that happened as a result of you showing up. And they don't have to be giant magnitude things that were amazing. It could just be I showed up tonight and I got to eat food from this amazing buffet. I don't know. It could be something really small, but celebrate those small wins. And if 5 feels like too many, start with 3 or 2 or 1. But see the duality in the situation of, you know what, this was really difficult, and yet here's this really good thing that came out of it. And it helps to make you feel a little bit more in balance. So go through and thank yourself for showing up. Release the things that weren't so good and say thank you for the things that were.
I love that.
Yeah. So just a quick recap, and then I'm going to have Krista just close us up here. First of all, remember, introverts, extroverts, you can be an extroverted empath. You can be an outgoing introvert. You could be a shy extrovert. All it has to do with is how you process things. And then really, without going into everything all over again, it's important to take care of yourself before, during, and after these events. Protecting yourself, having a plan to go in and to be intentional about who you talk with, how you take care of yourself, having an exit strategy, and then afterwards going back through and practicing self-care again.
Beautiful. Oh, I love how Monika does that recap. I'm still trying to learn how to do that from her. She just sums it up so beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hashtag goals. Okay, so that is all we have as far as tips for you guys today. I hope that you found this really amazing and valuable and useful. And we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. What's the number one thing that was the most useful for you from today's video? And so we'd love for you to put that answer and tell us what the thing that was most useful for you. How do you want to incorporate that moving forward at the next holiday party that you go to? Also, don't be afraid to share this video with someone who suffers with social anxiety or being an empath or introvert or all of that, okay? So maybe it's a loved one or a friend, but yeah, please share this video with them or tag them in this video. And then also too, we're actually really excited because Monika and I are doing something new, and we're going to be opening up our calendars over the next 2 weeks for 3 different people to have one-on-one calls with Monika and I together on the same call. Okay, guys, this is a big deal. You get 2 professional coaches with you on the same call as you. And what we're going to do is we want to hear your big life story or something big that's happened to you recently. And we're going to help you to turn this into either your next upcoming speech or your group program or a workshop. Okay, we know that most people who watch and follow us, they're online entrepreneurs. They're service-based. They love to help people. They want to turn their pain into purpose. And so we want to help you to get really clear on what parts of your life story that you can use this, like I said, for your next upcoming speech or group program or workshop. So we'll put a link for you to schedule that. We're only opening up 3 spots. It has to be scheduled over the next 2 weeks. And it's first come, first serve. So we'll be putting that link in. When do you think we'll have that link ready by, Monika?
I can go create it very quickly after this. So you know what, actually, how about this, just in case, because I got to run to my coffee shop job after this, drop us I'm interested in the comments.
Yes.
And then that way we will go ahead and send you the link to put in for the session with me and Krista.
Yes. So type in the comments in bold, all caps, I'm interested, and we'll take the first 3 people. Guys, this is going to be so valuable and so helpful. So that way you don't have to say, okay, I have had this big life story and all these amazing, or maybe not amazing, but all these things happen. And I know that I want to use it. I want to share my message with the masses. I just don't know where to begin, or I don't know what to talk about. We're going to help you to pinpoint on what to talk about. And then this can be a way to work with clients one-on-one. This can be a way to make money, to grow your impact. I mean, there's so many different benefits, but this call is going to be so valuable, and we're only offering 3 of them for the first 3 people who reach out and say they're interested. So yay.
Yay.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for following us. We love doing these Facebook Lives that we later turn into YouTube videos. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're watching on Facebook, please continue watching and liking and sharing this with people that you care about.
Hey, bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.